There were times where I was literally thinking, do I want to stay on this earth? Because it's not worth the suffering I'm going through. I was in so much pain. I had numbness in the face, numbness going down the arms. With the sciatica, you get the numbness down the leg, lost sensation in the toes. And it wasn't just one side, it was both. I could barely walk the dog around the block. The pain would get so bad that I would have these tremors. They called them pseudo seizures when I was taken to ER a few times. Mm-hmm. The first time I had it, Cameron, it lasted 2 hours. They had nothing they can do. They give you muscle relaxers. I just kept getting prescribed nerve blockers, shoulder shrug. Well, you can have surgery. We really don't know how to help you. And I've had 2 cortisone injections, which scared the crap out of me in my neck. The panic that I experienced it, because I kept listening to the medical field saying, this is going to help you. This is going to help you. And so when I met you guys, I had spent over $20,000 just trying to see things to be fixed. And the program that you offered was fundamental movement. It was joint stability that I have never ever encountered or even brought attention to before. And I was just like so ecstatic because it was actually working. I did 125 squats yesterday. I couldn't have done that 2 years ago.
So are you hovering now 1 out of 10 pain? That kind of what you say?
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, wow.
It's just a little bit discomfort, but I wouldn't even consider it pain.
So Kandie-Rae, thank you for joining. What do you want to chat about today? I think one thing as we were chatting prior to you coming on, you were saying that you were excited because you were hopeful that this would be an inspiring story for those who are a bit older. I think you're 56, right? So I thought that was a really encouraging message. So why do you feel compelled to share that?
I think because when you look at who you have as followers, they seem to be younger. Plus yourself and Andrew and Katie, they're younger.
Right.
So maybe a older population might think, oh, it's not going to apply to me. I'm not fixable. They're younger bodies. They don't have as much to deal with. And I completely disagree with that. I mean, I'm in the field of fitness and you're never, ever too young to start. So I'm hoping that by people sort of hearing my story, that maybe it can not only just the age that I'm at, but I'm going through menopause. I'm going into the next stage of my life kind of thing. And I mean, the journey is never ending. So like, why give up now? I'm only 56. I work with people that are in their 90s, 104. We've got like, I work in a retirement home. So, I could be here for another 50 years. And I want those 50 years to be functional, to move my body with ease and still have the ability to do the things that bring me joy.
I love that. So what brought you into doing the Whealth Limitless program in the first place? And when did you start?
I believe I started in May of 2023. And you guys just kept popping up on my feed. At the time, I was trying all sorts of different practitioners, and it finally just came down to, I need somebody else to tell me what to do. And I like the whole idea that it was a full body concept, that it wasn't just, I've got back pain, so when you go to physio or chiro, it's just, let's focus on the back. But it's not just the back, it's a whole body connection. And I related to a lot of what Katie was dealing with, that prolapses. And I mean, Andrew showed, and you also were part of the program, and then look how far you've come. So just those examples, I think, regardless of age range, I connected with that. Yeah. And you're all very well aware of the body and the fitness. And I think it just all together, it just made sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to, see through that as well. And just, because that is one thing I hear, people like talking to me on the phone. And, I talked to you on the phone before you signed up. And I think our eldest is Mary Weaver. She's probably 74, and I'm hoping to get her on the podcast in the future. So just like you were saying, it's an ongoing process. You're never too young or too old to start. And I love that mindset. So I'm glad that you were able to see through that and just connect to us, because that's really what we're looking to do. And ideally for us, this is a long-term thing. So at some point in time, I'm going to be 56, still inspiring people and be like, yeah, there was a point in time when I was talking to people when I was 28, 21. And it is kind of funny in a cool position for me to be in sometimes, to talk to people in their 60s or 70s and encourage them to do the program. Of course, I don't know what that feels like to be 60 or 70, but it is my belief, at least, kind of what you're saying, that no matter the age, you can always get better. So for you, though, you mentioned low back stuff. Did you have any specific diagnoses while
Yes.
starting the program?
Eventually, I got the imaging done, and it showed very common, it seems, with the population that you're working with. It's the L4, L5, S1.
Mm-hmm.
They also did some imaging on the cervical, and it turned out that I had 3 disc bulges in C1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 6 and 7. They did not go into the upper thoracic, which I have a lot of issues there too. But with those 2 spaces in the cervical, I had nerve compression as well as in my low back. So terming it sciatica, whatever people want to call it, I have that. And through my younger years, I dealt with it. I would go see whoever I would go see. They would manipulate me and I'd be fine for a little while. Gradually, that little while turned into less time between visits of practitioners, to the point where it got to be I was having to get through my work week seeing somebody every day,
Oh, wow.
which that you can imagine the cost of it. Um, so that all just kind of added up. And I ended up at a point where I was spending more money on practitioners than I was making,
Whoa.
just so I could continue doing what I do,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you do?
Oh, I'm a fitness instructor. I teach all sorts of fitness, which I should recap that. I used to teach all sorts of high level, hard, intense fitness. And with what I've been going through, I had to reevaluate that. I do yoga. I work a lot with seniors, which I quite like. I've transitioned in the senior population the last 10 years, aquafit, land classes, personal training, that kind of stuff. Chair yoga, like for me, it's gentle, but it worked with my body and still works with my body very well.
Sure. So, and how long have you been in this industry?
Since I was 16.
Wow. So 40 years.
Yeah, since I was 16, I broke away from what all 16-year-olds like to do, and I loved to lift weights. I wasn't doing it correctly. I had no direction. I started teaching group classes with no certifications because there wasn't any at the time. At 17, I finally took a certification through the YMCA where I lived in Brantford, Ontario. And then through university, I took other certifications. And that's what I did for my jobs. Rather than waitressing and working for tips, I taught exercise to students and, the working person. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So two things I want to ask off the top of my head, and obviously we'll cover one at a time. I definitely want to get to, why did it take, let's just say 38, 39 years to, I guess, maybe learn something like wealth? I guess we could start there. And then I do want to go back and just kind of ask about the symptoms in the
Yeah.
cervical and low back.
Yeah. Um, like I'd said, I'd always had issues. They were never really diagnosed, and I was able to get away with seeing a practitioner. And I basically abused my body because my mantra was work hard or go home.
Yeah.
It it honestly started when I turned 50. Things started to shift. I One day I just couldn't run anymore, and then all of a sudden swimming was like I would come out of these classes that I would teach or these exercise programs that I was doing for myself, and I'd be in more pain than when I went into them. COVID happened, which shut down all gyms. So then I wasn't moving my body the way I used to. And I think it gave it that opportunity to just kind of seize up and stop functioning, made me have to listen to it. It was trying to bring my attention
Sure.
for a long time, get my attention, but it was in that COVID period where we weren't able to do much with the fitness, and we have stuff at home and we were still working out and exercising. But at the point that my body was, it made me listen. I ended up where I was in so much pain that I had numbness in the face, numbness going down the arms. I could barely walk the dog around the block. It sounds like it was night and day 360, but it took time.
Definitely.
The pain would get so bad that I would have these. tremors. They called them pseudo seizures when I was taken to ER a few times. They shook nothing they can do. They give you muscle relaxers. And then over a period of a year of my doctor trying to assist me and to investigate, I just kept getting prescribed nerve blockers, take this muscle pain, shoulder shrug. Well, you can have surgery. We really don't know how to help you. And the most difficult thing was, this is my field. Why can't I help myself? So that was where I really struggled, is why can't I just figure it out myself? So I took the approach when I came into your program, I'm going to not do anything that I've learned, and I want somebody else who's been through this to teach me. So that was my approach. Start from scratch. And the program that you offer was that. It was basic. It was fundamental movement. It was joint stability that I have never, ever encountered or even brought attention to before. And now I bring all of this stuff into everything that I teach. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So is that making sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's tough to hear that. First off, I'm very grateful that we're able to have that piece in your life and help you turn it around. And also it's tough to hear that because, again, we hear the same thing over and over. I've experienced it. It's like you have this kind of unfixable or unanswerable or the pain, right? You have the pain, you go and you try everything, maybe chiro, physio, whatever. And then doctors are prescribing pain medication, muscle relaxants, surgeries, injections, with a lot of times, like vast majority, like just shrugging, like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to help you, Kandie-Rae.
I got that a lot. I
Yeah.
got that a lot.
Yeah. And so then you pay for the MRI or the X-ray, or maybe it's covered under insurance. You get the diagnosis, which, like, for you're thinking it's going to help you solve the problem, but like, so then you're just kind of slapped with, so for you is 3 cervical bulges and nerve
Yeah.
compression, and then lumbar. Did you have 3 lumbar disc bulges as
So
well?
T12 is also affected, and then L405S1. Yeah.
Okay. So
They
those,
on our diagnosis, they didn't give me a dimension.
okay.
They didn't seem to be too concerned about it. And in fact, the answer I got was, well, with the activity level that you've had and according to your age, this is pretty normal.
Sure.
But it did not explain the pain that I was experiencing. They could not find the connection.
Mm.
So they sent me to nerve testing. I mean, I've had MRIs done on my head a couple times. I mean, and I've had 2 cortisone injections, which scared the crap out of me in my neck.
Mm.
I did a full cortisone injection, and the panic that I experienced it, which is what I want to talk to you about, the fear that goes behind all of this. I wanted it so desperately to work that I had worked myself up to so much anxiety. I canceled it again. And I finally just said, I got to go, because I kept listening to the medical field saying, this is going to help you. This is going to help you. And I maybe got 3 weeks relief.
Mm.
And then the second time didn't work at all.
Oh, wow. So what about that caused panic? Was it, you're saying the expectation of it to work? So you felt a lot
It's
of pressure, like
in
it's
your
got to
neck.
work. Yeah,
Um,
true.
to be
That's a,
honest, they didn't know where to put it.
mm,
I went into the appointment. So where would you like me to put it? And I was, what? Shouldn't
you're
you
like,
know?
oh my gosh. Somewhere
Where are you
safe?
feeling? Yeah, where are you feeling the pain? I'm like, well, I'm here, but it could be coming from somewhere else.
Wow.
So I was kind of like a test run. Well, why don't we just try this and put it here? Yeah, and cortisone shots, they can cause damage to the tissue. So he literally said, you don't want to do this too many times. And I said, no, I don't.
Right. Wow.
But
So what was the expectation when you were getting the cortisone shot? Did they give you a time that it was supposed to work, or a percentage chance that it would work?
yeah, he said what they did was they did a test run first. They did almost like the freezing that you would get if you went to the dentist. And he said,
Mm,
if you get 5 minutes of relief, then the cortisone's going to work. So I did that first. Then I did the cortisone. No, they cannot determine how long you might get relief. I might have only gotten a day, but I got 3 weeks, and it was the first time in 2 years that I was able to actually sleep somewhat a little bit through the night.
wow. So yeah, how was your sleep affected with the pain?
Terrible, terrible. You asked my family and my husband, like, it was terrible. Any position I was in, standing, sitting, there was nothing that was comfortable. Sleeping scared me the most because it forced me to have to sleep on my back because all the other positions I was used to sleeping, they weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was the neck, any sort of torquing in any position made it even worse. A few times for the night, I would end up getting up with a seizure. I'd have a seizure right there and then in the bed.
Wow.
And they're not seizures. I can't call them that. They're
Right. Okay.
tremors. But
Tremors. So what
yeah,
does a tremor feel like, or how do you describe that?
uh, it's complete no control of the body. My eyes were open. I was able to converse. It's just the body, just almost like when an animal goes into fear and they let that fear go.
Mm.
And initially, I was resisting it, which learning over time through different pain management courses I've taken that that's the wrong approach. So if they were to come in the last little bit, I would just surrender to it and let the body do what it needed to do. I would lie on the floor because I knew that's where the safest spot to be. And mainly the arms would be moving. My head would start to move, maybe one or two legs. Like it was never the same. The
Mm-hmm.
first time I had it, Cameron, it lasted 2 hours.
Oh
So I
my
was
God.
pretty tired afterwards. And then they got less. I stopped having to take medication for it because right away they prescribed me lorazepam to relax the body so I could relax and sleep. And then the last few times I've had it, which has probably been about a few months, I just surrendered to it. And if you get me outside in the open air, I was absolutely fine.
Wow. Why do you
Yeah.
think that is?
I don't know. I have no idea, but something about getting me outside,
Yeah.
it just calms me down.
So the tremors would happen because of such an intense kind of
Yeah, the
pain
pain.
while
Yeah.
sleeping.
While sleeping, while
Okay.
driving in the car, I would sometimes have to pull over. I would feel it coming. A
Wow.
lot of times I was having them in stores, the lights, a lot of noise, like all sorts of things were affecting the nervous system.
So was your kind of you're mentioning cervical and lumbar stuff, nerve. Did you have intense sciatica, or did you have the nerve stuff kind of in the upper body? Was it neck, face, any limb, any arm stuff?
Both. I had
Okay, both.
face would go numb, almost tingling from here down, and the arms would go numb, and the fingers, you almost couldn't feel like your fingers properly.
Wow.
With the sciatica, you get the numbness down the leg, lost sensation in the toes, and it wasn't just one side; it was both. And sciatica is just darn right uncomfortable. Like no position is comfortable.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, horrible. I mean, I remember dealing with sciatica and I was in school and it's like sitting, biking,
yeah.
yeah, everything. Everything was horrible. I'm glad I'm not dealing with that anymore, and I'm glad that you're not, and I'm glad that our
No,
members are more.
I haven't had to. And now with your program, and if I'm talking too much, just tell me to
No,
stop.
this is perfect. This is the point of it.
The part that was the scariest part when I came into your program was there's so much fear behind moving the body.
Hmm.
Uh, I didn't trust myself. And with the program with Wealth, because you started so gentle and it eases you in, that I knew I had these tools that, okay, I'm just going to have to do a little bit. And I remember going on Andrew's posting, if you can't do this, just pelvic tilts, pelvic tilts. I was doing pelvic tilts everywhere. I'd
Hmm.
be on the ground doing these pelvic tilts, like in the middle of who knows where. And now I have the tools, but I also don't have the fear behind that. If I get a little niggle, I'm like, oh, no big deal. I got things that I can do to help me deal with that.
Right. It's funny. I already caught myself doing some pelvic tilt, some flexion extension. Like I got it. It's just,
Yeah.
it becomes, I think some of just the micro movements that you learn from the program become almost ingrained into your day-to-day movement. Um, how how would as a chronic thing that sounds like you've been dealing with? I mean, how many years, when was like the first time you kind of started to notice like, oh, I've, the symptoms of cervical lumbar disc bulges?
I would say university.
Okay. So in your early
University, be
20s.
sitting and, we didn't have computers like we have now. Everything was handwritten in the library kind of stuff, but it was
Mm.
university. I started seeing a chiropractor. I did a little bit of community theater. They had a chiropractor right there. So I'm like, okay, my back's bothering. Let's do it. And then it just sort of kind of grew from there. Yeah.
Wow. So 30 plus years really of your life being affected by pain. And then it sounds like it really ramped up. Did you say when you were 50 is kind of when it started to really ramp
Yeah,
up?
stuff started to change when I was 50. Now, in
Okay.
incorporating with all that, here I am, a fitness instructor wearing running shoes, thinking I'm doing the right thing. I also had been wearing orthotics for over 30 some odd years. I don't wear those anymore. I went with a full body transition. I'm going to do the Whealth program. I'm going barefoot. Some of my discomfort came about because I just got rid of the orthotics. I got rid of the old running shoes. I actually tried on, I have 6 pairs of running shoes in my trunk right now that I'm going to donate because my feet don't fit in them anymore.
Yeah. What's happened to your feet since doing the program?
They actually have like spread out. My toes are spread. I can balance better. I'm standing here talking to you on like a little foot rock mat.
Yeah.
I changed it all.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I've noticed the same thing. This is why I need Vivo Barefoot. I also will run in the Ultra, which is like it just has a little more cushion, but it's still a
Yeah.
zero drop. But wide, like my feet are so wide, I just cannot fit in most things
Yeah.
conventional. Or if I do want to wear like dress shoes or shoes out, I intentionally order like one and a half,
Wider.
2 sizes bigger. And I'm just like, all right, well, my toes are going to be that far away from the edge, but at least my feet aren't getting crushed.
Yeah, I started with the Torrens 6 and 7s,
Okay.
and then I have the Escalante now, which I can wear all the time.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
then
wear.
last winter was my first transition into the zero like winter boot.
Wow. Is that so cool? I mean, and this is just it's so hard to talk. I mean, it's not hard to talk about the transition, but it's so deep. We're talking about you came in for cervical and lumbar, and it's like we could talk for hours. Not that really most people want to hear about hours of foot talk, but I mean, it's cool. Your feet get healthier and better balance and
Yeah,
stuff. So, what did you? Was this kind of the first time in the program that you had learned about the barefoot lifestyle?
yeah, pretty much. Because I looked at you guys; they were wearing the Vivo barefoots, and plus you had the advantage of working out from home. But when I was at the gym, you couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have toe socks, and the place that I teach at, she's fully aware that okay, Kandie's going to take off her shoes, and she's still got her socks on, so it's not like
Right.
unsanitary. And I stay in my little corner and I do my stuff, and I still have foot covering on, but
Right. Wear
yeah,
toe socks.
yeah.
Wow. So, what was, you're talking about the tremors, not sleeping. I mean, how were you processing life at that intense of a stage of pain, not sleeping? I mean, like pain's up, you're not sleeping. I mean, what did those few years of life prior to wealth look like?
I don't remember them. They're so foggy because you have nothing but brain fog. I know I got through a day, but think about it. If you're not sleeping, your pain threshold goes up. The anxiety and tolerance of just normal day stuff doesn't work.
Hmm.
I don't even remember what I was eating. I put on probably 25, 30 pounds, taking that
Wow.
off now, thankfully.
Yeah, you
But,
look great.
but to be honest, I'm actually thinner than I was when I was exercising and teaching those hardcore classes. I'm in better, like physical looking shape than I was before,
Sure. So
which
you,
I
you
think is,
classified as a good, healthy, like thin, right? Because you're
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and people were worried. I'd come and I'd see them. Are you okay? You look sick. No, this was all planned. Like this has been a plan in progress for the last 2 years.
Wow. So you put on 25, 30 pounds during that really intense pain
Yeah,
because of,
who knows? It was medication that I was on. It was lack of sleep. You're just eating whatever is available. You want comfort food. I
yeah.
mean, let's not forget COVID was like started out as a small vacation and everybody was like, all right, we're going to wear our pajamas and let's have pizza. But we were having it way too many, like
Right.
too comfortable for the longest time. And now I do like a keto kind of fasting,
Cool.
intermittent fasting. I've gotten right into Dr. Mindy Pell's, like the long-term fasting. Sometimes I'll do 48 hours, 72.
Yeah. Those are
Mhm.
tough. I've done a 70. The longest I've done is a 75, but I kind of want to go back in. That's a cool,
They're
I think
hard.
they're hard. But I think one thing that I've realized now that I actually have a healthy relationship with food, which I can't say I did in my early 20s. Like for me in my early 20s, like I was so concerned about my six pack. So I would like look at food and calories as like deprivation and almost punishment. Whereas
Yeah.
now I look at fasting. Um, I think it's in ways I think it can tap you into spiritual, mental mindset. You realize how much time you have in a day when you're not thinking about food. Like I'll finish my workout and then like, wait, I don't get to eat right now, like on to work. And you realize like mentally you block out 30 minutes of your day just thinking about food, processing it.
Preparing it, buying it,
Yeah.
like, yeah, and just digestion alone when you finally
Yeah.
consume it, how much energy that takes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be, more into the intermittent fasting. And I think what I've taken away from that, I was strict on like, oh, I'm not going to eat for 16, 18 hours. And it worked great for me. Now, more so, what I'm more concerned about is just I'll definitely stop eating 3, 4 hours before I go to bed. I've just noticed that's
Yes.
the best way. And I
Yeah.
actually do personally like working out fasted. But I start my workout anywhere from like 6:30 to 8 a.m. every morning. So
Yeah.
if I were to work out at 2, maybe I wouldn't like that. But
Yeah.
everyone's got to figure that out.
Yeah. You just kind of figure out what your rhythm is.
Yeah. So you put on some weight, brain
Yep.
fog, not sleeping. Were you working at that time,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
oh my gosh, how
Yeah.
are how were you teaching classes in that amount of pain?
In so much pain, like
Just
so
more
much pain.
pain.
Yeah.
Did
More
you ever
pain.
did it ever cross your mind to stop working?
So I had to actually resign from a few places I was working. I was teaching at a hot yoga studio and I was managing at a YMCA, and I had to pull back. I had to
Okay.
quit. I couldn't do them. So that was
Yeah.
hard because that kind of, hard on your ego.
Yeah.
And the other half didn't understand. And I just had to say, well, this is my health that's most important right now. Thankfully, my husband supported me. And I have two bosses that are wonderful right now. And I also work for myself. And I'm a reflexologist as well as a fitness instructor. So they're completely opposite. One is constantly moving, the other one you sit in a fixed position.
Hmm.
So what I could do with that is I just pulled my clientele back. I wasn't working with 7 people in a day. I was working with 2, and I pulled it back. And now I massage it so that I'm standing, sitting, standing, sitting. That's
Okay.
the best for my body, and I'll bring the clientele that respects that. And that's how I've been now for the last 2 years.
Wow. How was that on your husband watching you go through that?
Really traumatic, and nothing against him, but that kind of stress he doesn't know how to deal with. It was
Yeah.
actually my children who were much better at handling it than he was.
Mm.
He's a great guy, but he just doesn't have that sort of, what do I do? It went the other way. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
but he's getting better. But the kids, honestly, my kids, wonderful, and
Yeah.
my dog.
There we go. Thank God for dogs. I think about that too. I'm engaged and I don't think I would ever want to see my fiance, future wife, go through that experience of having sciatica like I did. I don't want to see loved ones go through that
The
because it
pain.
was like so tough. But I think now that I'm in that position, ideally I would be able to bring some comfort and direction like, hey, you're going to get through this. But
Yeah,
at the time when I had sciatica at 21, you go from I loved working out, I was really fit, I was healthy, I was strong, I was an incredible athlete, and then it's just like this invisible freaking knife in your butt, in your leg, and nerve pain, and like
yeah,
I can't put on my shoes, and I've stopped lifting, I've stopped going to the gym, and I'm hobbling around the house, and I can't get out of bed, and I'm wearing a back brace, and I'm going to a chiropractor, I'm getting massages, like all of that, like my world just flipped upside down, and there was no way for me to really even communicate what I was feeling, even to my parents. Like they didn't
yeah.
really understand it. They were supportive. They were actually the ones who bought me Andrew's program in college, So
Nice.
thankfully, yeah, my mom was like, okay, sure, I'll buy you this rehab thing. I was like, Mom, I really want to do it. I think this is going to help me.
Yeah,
And it changed my life, got me out of pain. So thank you, Mom, for doing that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. Like if you haven't had that injury, I could see why it would be so difficult to not empathize, but just understand like
How do
what.
you help a person when you don't understand it? And we've
Yeah.
had discussions about that. And now he completely understands when I go off and I start doing my exercises. I have,
Hmm.
first thing I get up, I do stuff. And then I break it up. So it's almost like you would call like movement nutrition breaks is what I
Yeah.
think Katie Bowman terms things as. Rather than the old time where you'd go and be in the gym for an hour and then the rest of your day you do nothing. I break it
Right.
up throughout the
Right.
day. So when I'm done on this phone call with you, I'm taking the dog for a walk. And before I go to bed, I'll do stuff. Like I have to break it up because my body just can't be sedentary for
Sure.
long periods of time.
Definitely. You know, I found that going through my injury and what I see with the members is just going through such a, for some of our members, very traumatic, for others, mild levels of pain, but going through and learning that discipline, mobility, the stuff in the program, you really buy into it and understand why it's important to do those things, why it's important to keep moving. I wouldn't encourage people. I would never say like, oh, you should be fearful for sitting all day, but also I wouldn't recommend that you keep doing that over and over and over, right? So you want to build the strength in which, like, hey, if you're on a flight for 20 hours, like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. You're going to be fine. You're strong. But also there's a counterbalance too. Like, you don't have to sit in the chair on the flight. You can get up, you can do
Yep.
stretches, you can do that sort of thing. So just understanding what those tools are, getting moving. But maybe kind of to go to the program now,
Yeah.
you had a very, at the end of it, really, is traumatic the right word? I mean, how would you classify that experience towards the end? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, at first, I mean, like anything, you're like, okay, is this going to work? Let's see.
Yeah.
And I was just like so ecstatic because it was actually working.
Wow.
It was actually working.
How
And
long did it take you to see that?
because of that, I was able to pull back. I don't see any practitioners without once a month I see a massage therapist because I want to. I
Feels
no
good.
longer go to these people because I think I have to. It's given me the courage to be comfortable and confident in my body movements again. I said earlier that when I get a niggle or a wiggle, I have tools now that I know what to do and I can back off or I can do other things to keep moving. Um, this is my fifth round. So what am I in? I think I'm back on module 5. I can't remember if it's the program
Yeah.
number 1, 2, or 3, but I've
You've
done
done, you're on the
5 of them.
Limitless program 5 times through.
But the cool thing is because you've done it so many times, I don't think it's a one and done. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because you can see the changes, you can feel the changes. I was so pumped on Monday. I couldn't wait to tell you this. On Monday was the hang and then the scapular
Retractions, maybe.
pull-ups.
Oh, great. Okay.
The first time I did that, way back when, I couldn't move anything.
Mm.
And then when I started to get some movement, it was only the right side. On Monday, it was both sides, like incredible. I know. So
Congrats.
I won't stop doing this program because it hits all the functional aspects of the joints.
Right. Yeah. And look at that. For those who would say, oh, well, I can't get better. I'm 56 or I'm 54. It's like you're getting better now
You're getting
as you get
better.
older. Right.
Yeah. It
So,
might just take longer.
sure. Sure. So, how long did it take you to start seeing relief or it's working? My pain's subsiding. I'm starting to feel better.
The first time around.
Okay. So, when you say the first time around, what do you mean by that?
All 8 modules,
Okay.
consistently every day. That's the other thing is consistency every
So,
day.
you did the
Um,
program every day.
every day.
Okay.
However, if there were days that where something kind of flared up, I might backtrack and then I'd go
Mm,
back forward. I
okay.
did a little bit of that with the first and the second round of doing it through, but the last 2 full rounds, I was able to just go straight forward with it.
Sure. Okay.
And then I started from scratch again, so I went all the way back to 1. When I'm done it this time, I think I'm going to stick with 5 up to 8.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. 5 to 8. Modules 5 to 8 is a pretty good one for our members to go back. You clearly love it. You're going back through rereading the book 5 times, right? But I could do that too. But then if you don't want to go back through mods 1 through 4, do 5 through 8. So for those listening, there's 8 modules. Each module has 7 workouts, and then probably, I mean, what did you find it was taking you per day to do a workout routine?
Well, I remember your one gentleman, Josh or Joel, a couple
Hmm.
podcasts ago. He took a while. And
Yeah.
each person, it's going to take as much time as you want to put into it.
Sure.
I don't always do all 4 or 5 or 6, whatever rounds are recommended. Today, I had enough time to do each round twice.
Okay.
So you had the warm up, then you had strength 1 and strength 2, and I did each one of those twice because I had to go teach. Um, and I want to give it some decent time. It's not something you can rush through.
Right.
You've got to go slow so that you can feel the movements, feel the connections with the muscles and the joints, and get your breath in there. And that's the one thing I was lacking on the first round through is I actually didn't breathe. I don't want to say the word wrong, but I wasn't breathing with ease. I wasn't
Mm.
using my diaphragm correctly. So
Hmm.
what also your program has taught me is the connections between all of it. Like the head is connected to the toes. Like there's nothing separate that you're doing.
Right.
And I'm finally starting to get the muscles to actually fire that are supposed to be firing when you're doing things like a hinge or a
Hmm.
rollback or a rolling bridge. I'm starting to get those muscles to go, yep, we're ready to work.
Right.
But it took that long for my body to finally say, oh, yes, this is the muscle that needs to fire, because so much of my body was cheating. So many different parts of my body weren't working like they should because other
Hmm.
parts were doing it for them that shouldn't be doing it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, Joel said it took him about 3 hours at the very beginning of the program to do some of the module 1 workouts, which is an insane amount of time. But also, we need to put that into reference. He was coming off of a massive Oxycontin
Yeah.
addiction
Yeah.
and back surgery. Went from having to pee in a bottle because he was bedridden because his sciatica, his strength, his function was so bad. He was I mean, the way that he spoke about it, and it was interesting because he's healthy, strong, vibrant now. He's like, look, I was the weakest person I think that could be imaginable to do your program. If I can do it, an 80-year-old
Yeah.
can do it. I thought that was really cool.
Half an
Um,
hour it took me today, to be honest. That's all I
okay,
spent.
half an hour. Yeah, so very manageable. I like it though. You came in with the approach, I'm going to do this every day. I just had a podcast on Monday with Alana, and she's taking care of her mom with Alzheimer's, and she was able to do the program 2 to 3 times a week. And she's like, I came in with the intention to do Limitless every day, and it just was not possible. And I got the program done in like 5-6 months. And I love that perspective too. It's really cool to hear you talk about it and her talk about it. Both kind of ended up in the same ending point, which
Yeah.
is there's almost no ending point when you continue to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But that first pass through, right? You're a really interesting case though. The program is lifetime access, so you're getting a lot of use out of that, aren't you?
I'm getting my money's worth.
Oh my gosh, good. Well, we're happy. Speaking of money, that might be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought on, I'm just trying to calculate potentially, like, do you have a thought on how much money you potentially spent trying to solve your issues over 3.5 decades?
I would be afraid to find that out
Okay.
because about 21 years we had really decent insurance coverage,
Okay.
and then things changed for my husband and I, and our insurance was gone. And so when I met you guys, I had spent over $20,000
Wow.
of my own money without any insurance coverage,
Wow.
just trying to see things to be fixed. So now I got this money where I can, like Saturday, I'm doing an excursion. I'm going to an outdoor pool that is heated, and I'm going to do an aquafit class. And then Sunday, I'm doing something else. And then next weekend, I'm doing like a cold
Yeah.
plunge massage retreat. Like I can do these things that I've always wanted to do because I have that little extra money that I'm not spending on practitioners.
My gosh. What would you speculate as to why the medical system or the practitioners are, if we're just comparing the results that Whealth has helped you get versus the results that you spent 20,000 plus on in the medical system, where is the mismatch there?
Um, well, so far, the people that I've gone to see to say, can you help me with this physio, whatever, they're looking at that area. I had one physiotherapist who didn't know how to deal with the mental anguish that I was dealing with because I had some serious anxiety. My issues were chronic. She sent me over to a poster and said, here, I want you to read this, because she couldn't help me. So they're out of their depth with so much of the mental aspect that comes behind this. And Katie posted something a while ago where she was ready to go out. She had to take her heating pad, take her Tylenol. Like, what if I have this problem? What if I have that? That was me. For me to try to go to a movie, I would pack a pillow, make sure I had Tylenol, make sure if I had a situation, I had muscle rub. Like, it's not just, we can't just walk out the door. We have to think of all these fears that are connected with, what if I get in this much pain? What if this happens? The amount of things I've had to say no to in the last 2 years is quite upsetting, because I couldn't go to my son's hockey game. I couldn't go on a trip to see so and so because of all the anguish and the fear that was connected with, well, what if I experience pain? What if I'm in pain and I'm in the middle of an airplane? I think there's a disconnect. And I had one person who, great physiotherapist, but he was still missing something. He did a full body connection, but there just was something he was missing. And I think they hope they can help us with the one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's not just a one and done.
No, it's not just a one and done. It definitely takes some work. But I think the work is so worth it when you're talking about just setting aside, for Alana's case, an hour and a half a week to finish Limitless in 6 months, or for you, 30 minutes a day. But, it really is invaluable. Like, maybe you should explain what that feels like to go from saying no and the mental anguish to now. Like, how do you even describe the difference?
I wake up happy. I wake up, what am I going to get to go and do today? My participants have noticed the change in me when I'm teaching a class. I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm jumping around, we're dancing. It's kind of exhausting for them because I have way more energy than I used to. I had a bunch of people in my house for Christmas and I didn't have to turn around and disappear because my back was sore. I got to go to a movie that I sat in for 3 hours. I went and saw my son's hockey game. Like, these are the things that we should be able to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But when people like us suffer with these kind of issues, it's not that easy.
Right. What do you think, just I guess maybe bigger theoretical question. I mean, there's so many people out there just suffering, kind of living your same experience, my experience. I mean, how do you think that changes systematically?
I work with a lot of people who come to me for my reflexology and exercise, and they want me to help fix them. What I learned through this program that you guys offer is it's up to me. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with pain and whatnot, but they're not taking that step that it's you're in control of that. So how do we teach that?
Yeah, I know that's what we're trying to do. One person, one story at a
One
time,
person at a
really.
time.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be because you're, oh, I'm 70 or I'm 80 or I'm 90. I witness it every day at my different jobs. The ones that are most successful in living a quality life are the ones that are moving their bodies and are active.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. We can't, wealth will never and can never help everyone. Even,
Everyone.
yeah, it can't. And, every other company that I would like to think is doing the quality of work that we are will never be able to help everyone with chronic pain, because unfortunately there are still, I don't know what the percentage is of what percent of people with chronic pain believe it is up to someone else to fix them, and what percentage of people with cervical, lumbar, disc, whatever, all sorts of musculoskeletal stuff believe that they have the power, if given the right program and approach and support, can do it and have to do it themselves. I don't know what that percentage is, but all I know is I was adamant about, give me the frickin' program. I will do it. And I know there's plenty of other people out there like yourself and all of our members who come in. I know that if I have a certain belief system, I know other people do too, because I think it's pretty logical. But, I'm sure a lot of other people thinking that someone else has to fix my pain probably think that's logical as well in their own mind.
I was the same. How many practitioners did I see in a week? 4 or 5, because I gave the power over to them.
Uh-huh.
It took me the first round of going through Whealth, all 8 modules, to realize, oh, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the knowledge. I just didn't trust myself, and now I trust myself.
But did you need all of those negative or faulty experiences or experiences in which you're trying cortisone, you're trying injections, you're doing that? Did you need that though to reshape your mindset to start to realize it was up to you?
I think so, because otherwise I wouldn't have gone down this path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think everything happens for a reason. It's brought me down a completely different path as far as how I teach to people, as far as how I move my body. Um, I mean, just the cold plunging, the breath work, the meditation, there's the food. I would never have been there. I might still be experiencing this ridiculous amount of pain if I'd not chosen to
Right.
start with your program.
Yeah, that's awesome. People love diagnoses because they want to resonate. And here, Kandie, 56, cervical, lumbar. Oh, she did it. I could too. Are
Yeah.
there other areas of your body aside from the cervical bulges and the lumbar? I mean, I guess we're talking like you had pain everywhere. Were there other things that you were dealing with that you have been able to improve through the program or formally diagnosed?
I have a right hip issue that, according to different diagnosis for MRIs and stuff, there's nothing structurally wrong. And I've basically learned that, well, it was compensating for something on the left side of the body. I
Mm-hmm.
blamed everything that was happening to me on the right side. And through the program that I'm learning with you guys, that it's the left side that was doing all of the issues to the right side. Like, we're not symmetrical.
Right.
Um, the body is incredibly intelligent that when one part's not working, there's other pieces that are going to try to compromise and support you. But I was very inefficient, completely inefficient in how my body was moving.
Right.
Yet I could push through things, but always in pain. Yesterday, I'm doing this squat challenge right now where every day you have to do like 5 more. I think today's like 70. I missed it 2 days ago. I did 125 squats yesterday.
Wow.
I couldn't have done that 2 years ago.
That's incredible. You're getting stronger as you get
I'm getting
older.
stronger.
Right. That's so cool. Okay. So yeah, I mean, hip, anything else? And you're talking about the feet, toes splay, stronger, better balance. What other physical, we talked a lot about mental. What other physical benefits have you noticed within your body that you're doing now via post wealth or currently as you do it your fifth and sixth and 10th time?
Yeah, the balance is just so much better.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is important as you age. That's a big
yeah,
thing.
when I'm instructing a class, I'm not exhausted afterwards, because I'm breathing better.
Mm,
I have decent energy throughout the day. I don't do caffeine. I've never been a coffee drinker. I don't take like anything that stimulates me.
hmm.
Um, Even though the cold plunge can kind of give you a bit of stimulation.
Definitely a lot of
Yeah.
stimulation.
But it's kind of interesting not having been able to be in it since what, January 6th, because it's been frozen solid.
Yeah, you got to break that up.
I've like, oh, okay. So here's another lesson that Kandie-Rae's like, you don't have to do it every day. I kind of get into a routine where like, I have to do this or it's going to fail. Well,
Right.
no, things are happening to me that are teaching me that
Mhm.
no, you can still survive without having to do that every single day. However,
Right.
I will not compromise on my movement. I won't compromise on my movement patterns. I won't compromise on the routines that I'm doing. And the one thing I absolutely love about the program is it is not the same every day. You go to physiotherapy, they give you this program. It's the same every single day. How on earth can you improve?
Right.
And
Right.
it's only targeting like a small percentage.
Yeah, for
Whereas
sure.
is yours complements and it switches up the movements, it switches up the muscles. Like
Yeah.
it's really well designed.
Yeah, there's people that have been doing their printed out physio sheet with no progression for a year or 2 years. And it's like, they're like, I've tried everything. I've tried PT, I've tried physio, I've tried chiropractor, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, let's just talk about the physio because I don't want to talk about how the rest of those things are going to make any structural change in your body that's lasting. Let's talk about the work that you think you've done. What have you done at physio or physical therapy? Well, I've been doing these 5 or 10 exercises for, maybe a year. But it's like, all right, you've been doing that for a year. That's too much of the same thing. Or they'll be like, well, I did these 5 exercises for 8 sessions or 12 sessions or 20 sessions. I'm like, it was too short, it was too long, but you're doing like not the
Yeah.
right stuff. So
Yeah.
don't throw out a proper movement routine and your thought process that you can't heal because you've already tried physical therapy. Like, no, you have not.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And our body changes as we get stronger, it changes. So you have to change to adapt to it.
Right. You gotta do some progressive overload. And
Yeah.
that's something that is really missed out in the rehab space is there is a very big difference between like, okay, someone shows up with chronic pain and it's like, all right, here's your 5 exercises on piece of paper and they're going to be really gentle. Let's just even say that they were taught right, they were appropriate at that time. There's not even that progression to the next step and the next step. So then people are left like with no confidence because they're like, all right, well, maybe I can kind of do these 5 exercises that don't require that much, but how do I get back into actually feeling
Yeah.
confident, feeling good in my body?
Yeah.
Which you need. So how is what you've learned in the program, how has that influenced what you teach to others now as an instructor?
Oh my God.
Loaded
It's
question.
I do it every day. Like they don't know, but
Right.
they're getting some of it every day. And it's kind of sweet in the sense that I can add it into their movements and it's benefiting me at the same time.
Mm,
And they're so simple. I mean, I was teaching a golf stretch program last year, and I put in like all the shoulder stuff, like the cars and the circles and the scapula. Like I did all that stuff and the hinging. And I mean, if you see people when they can't move, how they end up golfing and they have no rotation, it's
right.
like, it's pretty scary. Yet all they want to do is hit that ball.
Yeah.
And they all notice that through this like 12 weeks that we do it, and because my brain works in a strange way, I actually don't remember what I did. Like this morning, I taught, I
Mm,
can't remember what I did. So they're not getting the same thing every day. I focus on specific joints,
yeah.
and I incorporate so much footwork that they're not used to because it's been ignored. We've got the shoes on when we're teaching
Definitely.
exercise. I put so much footwork in there, ankle stability, foot stability, works the knees, works the hips.
Hmm.
um, they don't realize that's what they're doing, but they're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
How is that approach received? Whereas before, how would you even, yeah, how would you classify what you were doing before versus now?
The feedback that I've gotten is because I educate them as to why we're doing this. And I'm working with that population where, you get past a certain age, your risk of falling increases. So I always kind of loop that into that, if we do this and we get better at this, our risk of falling decreases. Our ability to play golf increases. So all the things that they love to do, it's just going to increase those things they love to do in retirement. So
Hmm.
it's usually received really, really well.
That's
And
incredible.
because when I'm giving it and I'm giving them this message, I'm smiling, I'm happy, I'm joyful, and it just gets received that much better.
Yeah. And do you think that joy that you're bringing out is, I mean, you're bringing out in part because of what you've gone through and how difficult it was, and now do you feel like you have this new energy?
Yeah, totally do. And I'm able to well, you can recognize certain things. I can recognize when somebody's, not able to do something, and I can everything's very general, but if you see somebody that has an issue, you can say, how about you try this? I mean, there's always opportunity to offer them something a little bit easier because
Hmm.
I've got people that are all different ages, and it's incredible how little they can move. But I haven't had one person come back to me and say, I feel worse.
Yeah. It's
I feel
great.
worse for coming today. I've not had that yet, thank God. But in the last couple years, especially.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did when you were starting the program, I mean, were you optimistic from the beginning? Were you doubtful from the beginning? What was your mindset looking
I
like
don't
when
think
you
I
were
was
starting?
doubtful because I was excited because it was movement. I just
Mm,
desperately wanted to be able to move my body. Um, yeah, I don't think I was doubtful. What I did notice that initially I was worried.
worried?
Yeah, I was worried. I was a bit scared, especially when it came to the hinges.
Yeah.
Hinges made me a bit nervous. I'm still struggling with the Nordic.
Yeah, Nordics.
The Nordics. I'm getting better. Today I did 10 and I went a little bit further. But again, it's that the connection with your brain going, oh, if I do that, I might blah, blah, blah. So I've had to really work hard on the brain, understanding that what I am doing is safe. But now because the muscles that are supposed to be firing are firing and working, I have less of that fear around it.
Yeah. Do you recall when it was you became pain free from the symptoms?
Just in the last little bit, Cameron,
Nice.
I would say probably the summer.
This summer.
Yeah.
So about a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I still have wiggles and niggles because I'm working. Like I said, I went drop the shoes. Like I'm doing a bunch more stuff than most people would be doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't just have issues with the back; it's neck, it's upper thoracic, and
Right.
yeah. So it's coming. But it's just so nice to be like standing here barefoot and
Right.
holding your back or making all those gestures that say you're in pain.
Okay. Yeah, because the whole pain free thing, like you're gonna experience pain, but how do you differentiate the type of pain that you were going
Yes,
through and experiencing versus now? Because I think people like the illusion of being pain free, and I'm careful to say, oh, I'm pain free, like because I really am, but also it's like I just did a really hard workout and I felt pain, and it was the pain that I wanted to feel. And then in the past, but I haven't had any sciatica. I haven't had any debilitating pain. If I wanted to put a percentage on the pain that I deal with now versus what I dealt with, it's
better.
1% of
Yeah,
that. So I am almost entirely pain free, but also I subject myself to pain in the gym because I want that. And also, like, last year training for a marathon, I ran a little too much and I flared up my hip, learning
yeah,
lesson. So how do you classify where you were and where you're at now? Because I think that's also what people want to hear. They want some hope that, like, hey, the type of pain that I'm dealing with does not have to be there.
exactly. So today I woke up a little bit of shoulder and I just had to talk to myself and say, this isn't pain that you're in trouble. This is pain because you worked them yesterday.
Mm,
Like you actually worked them. I
okay.
did those scapular pull-ups and like, that's what that is.
Right.
I talk to myself a lot, whether it's outward or inward. I've done a ton of work on my mind, the pain management, the meditation, and I think because I don't have that fear connected with it now, that I know that it's temporary. Oh, you
Right.
just put a little bit of muscle up. This is literally because you just worked it today, and I had 2 clients yesterday, and I know it's going to be better tomorrow.
Sure. I mean, they really are I feel inseparable, the mental and the physical, because you can get yourself so worried about the pain that you feel. And I think that is something that is difficult for some of our members going through the program. You start to feel better physically, and then, like, oh, like a little signal of that pain comes back. You're like, oh my gosh, what happens if it never gets better? What happens if I go back to the same spot and blah, 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 blah. And you get yourself so strung up, your alarm goes off. So what are
Yeah,
some of those mental tools? Because, you got to physically execute the movements in the program. Let's just say that's the movement, the
yeah.
physical portion, right? And they're intertwined. But what are some of those mental tools that you have developed or learned along the way to help you process pain, work through it, lower the pain signals as well, and the fear to it?
I still maintain moving the body. So if I'm in a position where it's discomfort above a 6 or something, whatever people, however they score it,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
still going to incorporate those pelvic tilts. I'm still going to do maybe some cat cows. You're still going to move the body. That's my opinion.
Sure.
Still
So
keep
move the body
move
if
the
you're feeling
body.
pain in that area, start to get that movement, blood
See what
flow
it's
in there.
like when you do like a shoulder car or a shoulder roll. See what it's like when you turn your like wherever you're feeling
Yeah.
it. Does it need to have just a little bit of movement? Does it need heat? Do you
Hmm.
need to go for a walk? Swing the arms. Like I guess everybody's different, but for me,
Sure.
it's like last night. I had 2 clients. I had to sit for almost an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
all I did was I went for a walk and I moved my arms to get my shoulders to move, and I slept through the night, which a year ago that wouldn't have happened. I would have been up freaking out, taking some muscle relaxers. And I really do believe that me doing that cold plunge has helped my brain to recognize, when is she really in pain? What is this? Is this a 10 out of 10, or is she just like maybe 1 out of 10?
Interesting. So are you hovering now 1 out of 10 pain? Is that kind of what you say?
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, wow.
It's just a little bit discomfort, but I wouldn't even consider it pain.
All right. So we're in that sub 1 out of 10 threshold, whereas before you're at a 10 out of 10. It's funny to
Yeah.
talk to people. I'm at 100 out of 10 pain. They're just like, I mean, I hated my sciatica with all my will, but maybe I can't remember because it was 7, 8 years ago. But I remember sleeping through the night. I don't remember waking up through it. But like, oh man, when my eyes woke up, first thought directed, leg is heavy. Oh,
Yeah.
I just like, how am I going to get out of bed? I'd roll over on my stomach, do a push up, and I couldn't flex my left leg like more than 5, 10 degrees. So I would use my right leg. I could bring my right leg up to my chest, and that would be the supporting leg that I would push on the ground. And like my left leg, I would just kind of try to keep straight. I was
Yeah.
actually a junior in college. I was living in the fraternity. I was supposed to take the bunk bed. And I asked my roommate as we moved in, I was like, hey, I need to take the bottom bunk this semester. Like, I can't climb up and get out of bed, which is
Yeah.
like, wow, 21 and you're debilitated like that.
I remember
Really, I
times
mean,
sleeping on the couch because our
yeah,
bed is high. I had to sleep on the couch so I could literally just roll out of it,
yeah.
crawl to get to the bathroom, crawl to get back onto the couch, or just lie on the floor in multiple different positions trying to. I remember one day my husband and my son were trying to get me comfortable. Let's try you here. And there was nothing working. And I think it was at that point that we went to the doctor and she's not sleeping. And what did they prescribe me? Gabapentin and sleeping pills. Not let's help you figure it out. Let's just give you some pills, which I
How
did
did,
take. I did take all that stuff. And then I felt like worse the next day.
mm,
Felt like you were drunk or you were drugged or hungover. And I just gradually said, these aren't working. Let's stop them all. So I don't take anything. I take maybe a curcumin or turmeric.
yeah.
I mean, there was a point that I was taking 650 milligram Tylenols a day. And now I don't.
Whew. How did you feel like with that relationship with taking a bunch of pain medication?
I don't like taking meds. I've never liked taking meds. When I was a child, I was diagnosed with asthma. So they put you on all those inhalers. There was at one point I was on two different inhalers, two different allergy pills, and then I had like prednisone for some or the other thing. And I don't take my asthma medication anymore. I don't. I've just changed my diet. I've learned how to breathe. I do different diaphragmatic exercises, and I haven't actually taken my inhaler for probably 3 years.
Wow. It's
Yeah,
incredible. So let me ask you this. Where do you think you would be right now if you didn't do the Limitless program?
that's a scary thought. Camille had said she was in a very dark place, and when I heard that, I was like, yeah, it's a horrible thing for other people to hear and for those words to come out of your mouth. But there were times where I was literally thinking, do I want to stay on this earth? Because it's not worth the suffering I'm going through. And my family couldn't help me, and I couldn't work the way I wanted to work. There was no joy in my life at that time. That was probably a year ago that I was still thinking those thoughts.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've so it sounds like you've listened to some of the podcasts as
I
well.
have. Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Um, wow. Yeah. I had that conversation with Joel. I was just like, you don't talk too much about that aspect of how dark pain can get. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that just makes me so appreciative for our ability to help people like truly like get their life back.
Yeah. Especially
So,
when you're working with a lot of people who maybe they weren't, but I think the majority of your population was probably active.
mhm. Yeah, a lot of
Um,
active
so
people in
for us,
pain.
it's that much more devastating to have that just like taken away from you. It's my identity. It is when somebody asks, "What do you do?" I'm a fitness instructor. I've said that since I was 16.
Mhm.
It's part of my identity. And to have that removed, it was such a struggle. Okay, I can't do this. Well, maybe I can do this. And when you can't even walk, like that's just devastating to me. That was me.
Yeah, same thing. You yeah, your identity, your ego, all of that. You're like, who am I without this thing? And I think
Yeah.
that's a really tough thing for everyone, right? It's just it's natural. Like if tomorrow I wasn't working for wealth, um, which fortunately is not going to happen, I would struggle. I would be like, who am I without this thing that I do?
Yeah.
But the same thing, it's just I'm in the gym. I work out 6 times a week. It is what I do. It's who I am. I take care of myself. I work out. So I would struggle, and I did struggle with that. I was in the CrossFit gym, and I had my community and friends and everyone
Yeah.
knew like Cameron's here. He's going to work out hard. He's going to push you. We're going to have a great time. And then it's just like you show up, but you can't do the thing that you want to do. It's absolutely devastating.
Yeah. I saw somebody the other day. I went to my first ever polar bear plunge. And I ran into somebody that I used to work out with at 6 a.m. We were the early risers at the gym. And she said, "How are you?" I mean, I couldn't go through the details of why I haven't been there, but like, yeah, like those were your people.
Right.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
might get back there. I won't miss if I ever don't get to go back to a gym. I have what I need here. I
Sure.
would love to be able to lift weights again, but I want to make sure it's for the right reasons. Personally, I think it's more important right now to work with the body weight that I have and get strong that way.
Hmm.
Because I still don't have that control or that stability that I think I should have with the joints before I start pumping too much of the dump, like the weights and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be interesting though. You might be a little bit more critical of yourself, Kandie-Rae, than you need to be in that sense. And I think, this could potentially, who knows, you could be right. You could be, you could have the right intuition and gut feeling, but also, this could be a roadblock too, that at some
Yeah.
point you got to go start lifting the weights and doing the resistance training. Now, you don't need weights per se to do resistance training, and I understand that there's, oh, well, I could do body weight or I could do
Yep.
TRX and that sort of thing. And for sure, if you really work on the mechanics, oh my gosh, body weight can be so humbling. I mean, just look at calisthenics people, like
Yeah.
what the bodies that they sculpt, but also you'll start to see too, like they add weight into pull-ups and dips and that sort of thing. I would encourage you, now that you are on your fifth time, I would encourage you, if you want to get back to the gym, go do that. You are more than ready.
I
You've
have
earned
started
it.
to add some of them, that some of the explanations in here, like today when it said bridges, add a little bit of weight to the pelvic.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
And I know for me being 56 in that I'm in that menopause window, it's very important for us to have the muscles.
Yeah, for sure.
I noticed that with the cold plunge, the reason I shiver so much is because I don't have the muscle mass to keep me warm. So
Okay.
that's my next goal.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good goal. I think you're ready to go and start doing that, especially like if it's going to bring you some joy, and just in the same sense as it was when you were starting Limitless and you were intimidated to do an unweighted, hip hinge or
Yeah.
just anything, that is, you're in that progression right now that we find our members in roughly a year in or 6 months, or people have those points where they go, I feel so dang confident with Limitless. When I started, I was not confident. Oh my gosh, my life's back. But then you're like, oh, I'd like to get back to weights though, but it is another roadblock. And that is where like it's good. You have to put yourself in that situation, that roadblock that you crossed a few months ago or a year ago. It's
Yeah.
that same thought process.
Yeah.
Apply that thought process to whether it be our strength and conditioning program or your own weight training program. You've already shown yourself that you can overcome one. Now you can overcome the next. It's just the same thing disguised in a different manner.
Yeah. You're right.
Everyone has that. I felt the same way. I got out of pain. I was like, oh man, but I got injured at CrossFit. How do I get back to the CrossFit gym? And it's like, all right, just ease back
Yeah.
in, know what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Ease.
Now it's like, I can go do that, So you're going to have that. There is a level of fear and apprehension. Like, wow, I feel so good. I don't want to mess this up. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to go do that thing. But it's important that you grow and you got to
Yeah.
go touch the weight. This thing right here, it's not coming out to hurt you. So talk to me though a little bit about your fascination with the cold plunges. How did you get into that?
Just but I was telling you the February thing that I went to, and then the experience I had. It was the first time I'd ever experienced where you have no choice but to be present in the moment. You have to
Yeah.
breathe. And it took me a while to understand the components of not resisting it because I would resist it and then that would just kind of backfire. I absolutely love it. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that I love something like that. It drives my family freaking nuts, but I love
Why
it.
is that? Why does it drive you nuts? Why does it drive them nuts?
Because I talk about it all the time. Because I'm like, you gotta try it. Like, when you find something you love, you're like, you gotta try this. It's like absolutely awesome. Everybody
Sure.
just thinks I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
doing one of her crazy things again.
Yeah. Oh
But
my gosh.
it does so much for me, and that's all that matters. Is and it's 2 to 3 minutes of your life. That's it.
A day. Yeah. Right.
2 to 3 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The first few euphorias you get from a cold plunge, oh my gosh, you're on top of the world. You could talk about anything. I feel confident, clear headed.
yeah,
Same thing. That's been something I started with the cold plunge and it was fun too, kind of coercing people to jump in. And like, I created my cold, I was just getting a memory on Facebook. I bought the chest freezer from Home Depot 3 years ago. And at the time, it definitely was not as big then as it was now. I'm definitely not going to call myself the pioneer of cold plunging because there were blogs and people were doing that, right? And then it just, oh my gosh, all the
yeah.
cold plunge stuff just
It's taken
blew
off.
up,
Yeah,
everyone's seen them everywhere, but it's really fun at the beginning. Like, come over and cold plunge. We'll have a chat after. And then just now I have the sauna as well. And the sauna cold plunge combo, bringing people
great.
together, that community. I love that. That is such an interesting space as well. Some really cool companies following that. One company I've really been tracking that I really like is the Sisu. It's SISU sauna.
Yeah.
Um, if you are interested in sauna, of course, the plunge has one. I bought, what was that? I bought like an almost heaven sauna as well. But if you are getting into the cold plunge realm, do you have that same affinity for sauna as well?
Yes, and thankfully where I work, we've got a steam room, so I can do the steam room, not the sauna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's not hot tub's not the same. It's the sauna.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's I think not that wealth comes before a cold plunge or sauna or whatever, but it's funny. You kind of start to see that the program, the pain experience, the rehab, the limitless program, the hypermobility program, our programs tend to be just a really cool jumping off point where people tackle a very big challenge and then they start to become so fascinated with all other aspects of health and
Yeah.
wellness.
Oh, there's just so much to it.
For
I'm in
sure.
love with it so much that I'm actually eventually going to get certified in like a cold plunge facilitator.
Hmm.
There's one actually here in Northern Ontario, and there's a lady that comes from, I think, Houston, Texas, but she travels all over the place. And I've already connected with her, but it's just the timing, right? You got to make sure it's the right time.
Definitely.
And I need the experience. So everything that I'm doing, I got a great opportunity this past September. A girlfriend invited me to her farm, and I brought my portable plunge.
Wow.
And she said, none of my friends are going to do it. Well, as soon as one person went in it, they all went in it. And then we did yoga and we did some breath work, and then we had some food. It was like a great afternoon, and it
That's
was
so
all
cool.
outside, all
That's so
outside.
cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I want to share just a quick post from our Facebook group, which is kind of right in line with this. This is you jumping in this. I love this picture. You actually posted this. I was like, I got to
Yeah.
get Kandie on the podcast. But all I want to say here is to stay with the course. It will pay off, and you will be able to feel joy and movement again. I'm 56 and been with this group since May 2023. I'm on my fifth go through with Limitless and doing things I never thought I'd be able to do before. Stay the course, trust in the program and yourself. I love that. You look so happy in there too.
I am. I'm always happy when I'm doing that stuff.
I know it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Well, so you found the joy. I mean, and maybe we'll kind of wrap up with this, maybe some last thoughts, but you shared your story and you want people to know that you can get that joy again in movement in life. And also at the same point, you were talking about how you didn't know how you could, remain on earth or, I don't know how serious you ever got to that, but you were having those thoughts. I don't know how much darker and tougher it gets than having those thoughts, really.
Yeah.
Um, what do you want to say for people who are potentially in that headspace, or just people who are struggling with pain?
Just eventually it will get better, and it doesn't have to be like a lot at once. I learned the lesson that you just did a little bit every day. And for each day, for me to get out of those dark moments, I had to say, okay, what did you do today? What was your success today? Because every day there's something that you did well, every day. And honestly, at at the nighttime, I would look outside and I would thank the universe for the day. Every single day. I do that every day still. Thank you for today. Thank you for today. And I'd wake up in the morning going, okay, I'm supposed to be here today. So what's the plan for today? Just tiny. And you know that old saying, baby steps? It's the truth. Literally, baby steps. And sometimes I did go forward. It felt like there were days where I was going 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but I was still going 2 steps forward. That's the whole idea.
Definitely. And I mean, did you have that mindset even before Wealth when you saw light at the end of the tunnel? Did you still wake up even in pain being like, I'm supposed to be here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be here. And I honestly can say my children, I have 3 beautiful kids, and my husband, they were my support system. They were.
Mhm.
They would actually draw out to me, look what you've done today. Look what you've done today. Look what you did yesterday. They sometimes remind me, my youngest, who I was so surprised, reminded me not that long ago of how well I've been doing, because he's the one that's been here witnessing the seizures. He's the one that's home. So he saw a lot more than the older two because they're out doing their life, but he saw a lot more. Something a 19-year-old should never have to witness, in my opinion, but he did. And he's seen the changes. You
That's
forget that because when your own little mind in your own little world, you forget the wonderful things that you've accomplished and the daily things that you actually can accomplish. It's
yeah.
the outside people that are close to you that are really witnessing and paying attention. Yeah. And if you have a good support system, that always helps.
Yeah, definitely getting a support system. Speaking of support system, did you utilize our Facebook community
I
much?
did
What
it
was
in the beginning. I did. I was right in there with that first round through, and then I
okay?
just pulled back and I did some of the coaching calls. And ironically, I was starting to feel so much better. I didn't have the time for all that stuff.
Sure,
It's
that's
not that I
great.
was ignoring it. It's just like you just don't have time because you're off doing other things, right?
Isn't that all? I mean, that's that's why the Limitless program is called Limitless.
Yeah.
It's just it seems cheesy, but people who have gone through the program actually understand what that's like. You are supposed to have the limitless options to do the stuff that you want to do and live your life after. And hey, if you enroll in our strength and conditioning program and buy another course from us, that's great. And also, if you don't, because you don't want to, because you want to do something else, that is great. That means that we've accomplished our goal
Yeah.
and you've accomplished your goal. That's really what we want at the end of the day. I mean, Katie, Andrew, myself, and I, our coach, who's incredible. She was a customer in the past and is coaching with us.
Yes, I follow her.
Yeah, she's
She's
awesome.
inspired me. She did the strength one too, like her pull-ups and everything.
Yeah. Are you in the strength and conditioning program?
No, no.
Okay. That's the fear roadblock.
Yeah, well, I watched her and I've seen her go through her journey, and she does a lot of stuff with balance and
She's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's cool. She did Andrew's program years ago, and I met her online years ago, and now she's a coach in our Facebook group, and she's just so selfless. She's so knowledgeable, and now her Instagram page is a lot dedicated to like the barefoot stuff, and
Yeah.
it's crazy that the rabbit holes you can go down. I'm not that passionate about feet, but also at the same point in time, I've learned a lot about feet that I never would have thought of from a disc herniation. So the community, though, it was
Yeah.
important for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I posted as often as I could, almost probably at least weekly, and I'd get some feedback. And
Okay.
sometimes I have a bit of an imposter syndrome where I'm like, should I say something to another person? Because there's lots of people on there saying, can I have some feedback?
Mm,
And I always just go, well, maybe that's something that Andrew and Cameron and Katie should do. I don't think that's my place, but
interesting.
I still really appreciated when people were watching and checking things out that I was doing okay.
Yeah.
And it holds you accountable, right? Like
Yeah.
you have somebody that you're reporting to and it keeps you accountable. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so interesting. I'm an advocate for our Facebook group, of course, because we have it. It's part of our, plan to help people succeed. But then also like, oh my gosh, Joel did the entire program without ever posting anything. I'm just like almost incomprehensible, but also I can't put myself in the mind of an
yeah,
addict and then getting off of oxy, and he's talking about the shame and all of that sort of thing. And I think like he felt embarrassed to post in our Facebook group and shameful that he was so weak at that time. And I recognize some people
yeah,
don't want to be part of a community, and again, different strokes for different folks, but like I think it's great. I mean, we provide coaching and that sort of thing, and it sounds like it was helpful for you.
yeah.
Any words of advice? Well, you gave some good ones, but potential. What about people who are still going through the program? Because maybe one last question I want to ask people. We painted a really nice picture, I guess, kind of for you going through, but then within that really nice picture, there was days showing up for yourself, sometimes taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a potential flare up or something along the way and not let it derail you?
Assess where it's coming from, what I can accomplish that day. So I still think of what Andrew said, just a little bit of pelvic tilts, do some
Hmm.
cat cows. I mean, he showed where he was in pain at one point while I was doing the program, and they were going on a trip.
Yeah.
And Katie brought like a blanket, and I was going on a trip not shortly after that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to
Right.
go in this corner and do my movements. And I don't give a shit what anybody else wants to judge me, because this is how I'm going to keep myself healthy. That's the other thing too, is you have to ignore the outside. What are you doing? Why are you doing that for? That can be hard, to ignore the outside naysayers and just trust in yourself. And now I have that ability to say, I trust in myself.
That's awesome. Do you think a lot of people are surrounded by naysayers, or I mean, do you think that's a big thing that holds people back? They're not comfortable.
I'm not sure. I mean, the other day I was at the place I work at, and I was on the floor and I was doing some of the movements, and I had an older gentleman chirping at me going, if you call that a workout. I just had to let it fly by. Like,
Wow.
he has no idea what I'm dealing with. I could have said something, but would that have served me? No.
Yeah. That.
So, yeah, just sometimes you get people that, and my kids are pretty smart now. They know not to say because they know why I'm doing it. They've seen the suffering I've gone through. And in a
Mhm.
sense, they've suffered with me.
Yeah.
But until you've been in the shoes of a person that's dealt with the type of chronic pain that we have, and I think that's why I stopped going to the gym, because you've got all these people lifting these weights, and I would just be on the floor in a corner doing my thing, and I don't need that judgment.
Hmm.
So I just chose to do things in my own home
Sure.
or at some of the places that I work at, and this is what I have to do for me.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. I definitely felt very where. All right. Where does that embarrassment come from in that sense when you are dealing with rehab? Because I felt the same thing. I'll share why I felt like that.
I
But
think because they saw me prior, what I was able to do prior, the level of fitness I was at prior, doing triathlons, doing chin ups, like lifting like 30 pounds for bicep curls. Like they saw that. And now she's over here in a corner and she can hardly bend over. Like
mhm.
they may not understand that. So for me, it was, I guess I could have said I was embarrassed, but I just didn't want that discrimination. I chose not to
Yeah.
be in that environment.
Yeah. I think selecting your environment's important.
But it's
I
also the other part of it too, Cameron, is I look at that stuff and I'm like, I can't do that right now. I might not, like, you look at that going, you're sad.
Mhm.
Why? Why
Mhm.
can't I do that anymore? So I just didn't even want that part of it for me to be discouraged, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, it's almost it's a recognition if you're an avid gym goer or athlete,
Yeah.
you almost like, I don't want to step back on the field or go back in the gym if I can't do what I got to do here.
Yeah,
Like that's just so difficult. But it sounds like you got to put yourself back in the gym. I think
I
you're
know.
ready. I don't think you're ready. I know you're ready. But I dealt with the same embarrassment and whatnot. I would, oh my gosh, taking my shirt off, recording myself, like, in a fraternity with like a bunch of men. And like, they're like, why are you doing this yoga stretching program and recording yourself? And it was at the time for the first few months when I could not see the results for myself and I didn't understand what I was learning and why it was important. I was not strong enough in my own beliefs for why I was doing that yet, nor could I actually feel and see that confidence within myself. So I was embarrassed. So I would close the door. I have this video of me recording myself doing some movements, and my buddies were throwing apples into the room from like downstairs because my window was open. They're throwing apples at me because they knew I was doing my workout from
Yeah,
Andrew's program. And I have a video of the apple come in and hit the camera on there, and I posted that in the Facebook group years ago. And it's like just funny stuff to laugh
yeah,
back at now. And it's just, I think you're kind of in that time period now where I think you are confident in knowing what you're doing and you're starting to share that. And the confidence is only going to grow. And I know this for you because I've seen it myself. You're going to get back to doing like the sexy, fun movements because you've earned that right. You're going to start resistance training, and no one's going to look at you in a weird way, even if they really ever were in the first place, because you're going to be doing really awesome movements that you're confident to show. But also you're going to be moving in a different way that people can recognize this presence and this energy and this health that you exhibit. And then you'll kind of start to realize like, oh my gosh, I was given more power to other people's thoughts, what I thought they were thinking of me. Maybe they were
yeah,
one, never even thinking that about me. And I was internalizing the way that I felt about myself. And I was placing that on them, thinking that they were thinking like that, when really that's just me looking in a mirror, ashamed, embarrassed, I've lost my identity. You're like, well, maybe they don't even care, because the reality is, unless you're one of a million,
yeah,
most people are dealing with like, oh, maybe my shoulder hurts or my back hurts. And they just haven't hit that like breaking point that you hit.
yeah,
And then maybe in their mind, they know maybe I should be doing something about that too. And I've just seen that now throughout the years. Like, I don't want to say like people look at me like, wow, Cameron does his stuff, but my friends, family, whatever, they like look at me, I would say, and they can sense that I have this confidence in knowledge and expertise in movement now. And they are like, wow, it's kind of funny that you started off like really broken and you rose up, and that's really cool.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
know you're there and you're gonna get there, and I want you to jump back in the gym. Test yourself.
I will. I do.
Yeah.
I go to the gym, but it's not how I used to train.
Yeah, and also the last thing, I in my middle school and high school years, admittedly was a bully, and I was at that time I was overweight, not confident. And I look back on that, the things that I said to people I could never say again. I'm like, wow, I was so mean to some people. And it's because I didn't have confidence, hurt people hurt people. So whatever that gentleman was saying, like, just a comment like that,
Yeah,
if you have that in your life, you almost got to like laugh and feel sorry. I'm like, you're a grown adult chirping at someone. Like, what are you dealing with right now? I am so
yeah.
sorry that you think that you should say that to me.
I had to let it go because he could hardly walk and he's hobbling and he's got knee surgery and yeah.
There we go. Well,
He's hurting physically, but he's stuck in the old regime of how you should train and how you should work out.
for sure. Yeah. And, you don't have to even try to like,
No, I
yeah.
can just let it slide.
Definitely, definitely. And then yeah, if he's in there, what headspace is he in with his pain? It's like pain does some really difficult things, as you know,
Yeah,
and I know. So Kandie-Rae, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I love chatting with you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for sharing your story. I learned a lot. I did not realize that you had dealt with kind of chronic pain for 3.5 decades, and
Yeah,
now you're at a 0 out of 10. So if anyone's listening, thinking, "Oh man, I'm too old,"
no such thing.
no such thing. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.